Okay, this stream died halfway through it, and honestly, I don't understand why this happens. It's so annoying, but it just happens. I don't know. It feels like this technology is so unreliable. Anyway, I was doing this live stream, then it died. I created a new one. This one shouldn't exist. Actually, can we get rid of it? Get rid of it entirely. Die, please. Yes, gone. Boom. Okay, so I'll give you a second, hopefully for everyone who was in the old stream to connect to the new one. Hopefully. If you just arrived, please say hi in the chat. Yo there. Okay. Nice. Just give me a couple of seconds. That was true. That was true. Okay. Let's try again. So, don't you be annoyed by finding an extensions to move around? Don't you are annoyed by finding No, I mean, I'm not. I don't quite understand the question. Like, extensions are a cool way to customize Gnome, and I just have to Google from them, and they're pretty easy to find. So honestly, I don't have any issue in that regard. It just works. I have no complaints whatsoever. Hello, everyone. Yes, the Taushag KDE Taushag. How is that even pronounced? It's not being forked or integrated inside of KDE. Nope. KDE is developing its own gesture implementation, so it's like its own thing. We are getting gestures in KDE, but it's not Taushag or that kind of stuff. I don't have an issue with Gnome. Like the default Gnome, I think is reasonable. I have no complaints about the default Gnome, and even like the extensions that I use. Okay, maybe some of them I would like integrated, but honestly, just one. Maybe the blur one because it's pretty, but I can understand not implementing that. But the only one that really needs to be inside of Gnome is being able to select the audio input and output directly from the system tray. Except that it's fine, really. I don't have any complaints whatsoever. Does Plasma have a layout switch applet, which is not just an icon? Layout switch applet. I mean, you can use config saver, I guess, but you can use config saver. It's an applet that allows you to switch between layouts too, but slightly confused. Not being able to move system tray icons. You mean you want to move system tray icons? Yes, sorry, that's not possible. It's not implemented, sadly. Yeah. Is there any bug report about KDE changing the wallpaper to the default one after an update? This is going to come as a shock, but I don't know all of the bugs by heart, actually. Reset update. This is what you do when you're wondering if there's any bug. No, I don't see any such bug. You can create one. Is there a way to make the overview in Plasma more like Gnome? Love Plasma, blah, blah, blah. Nope. I mean, you can, if you want to try like changing, you have to change the code basically. And if you do, try sending a merge request, but not through a UI for users. You have to be a developer, like know a bit of QML to be able to do this kind of stuff. I don't quite follow multi-monitor closely, but as far as I know, there was some talk about a mirror panel feature, but I don't think it got implemented. So not as far as I know. No. Hello, everyone. Keyboard switch layout. Keyboard switch layout. Then nope. As far as I know, the only applet is the icon one. However, you can see if there's some third-party one by searching for keyboard layout in the KDE store. If you don't find anything, then sorry, that's just not there. Do you know Pseifidotos? Pseifidotos. Yeah, the Lattidoc developer, right? Yeah. I've talked to him. Your hero, yeah. I mean, it does so much. It's incredible to think that he managed to pull off Lattidoc basically all by himself for quite some releases. That's very proficient. About the overview, I mean, the new one, I would like to change the new one. Like, I would like to put some time and effort in redesigning the new overview so that it's a bit closer to Gnome, and I feel like it would make sense. I do have, if you go see my Twitter, some mock-ups about this, but if I had the time, where's this? Blah, 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 here. These are my mockups. This one, this one, this one, and this one. But I mean, you know. Should KDE work on a new icon set? There is a lot of work for a new set of icons for some icons. Keep in mind that doing a new icon set for all icons is impossible. Like, there are thousands and thousands of icons. You can't just do a new set of them like that. That's not going to happen. However, for some icons, it's possible to improve them, and there are new sets of icons, like icons getting replaced with new ones. So yeah, I think it's either 5.25 or 5.26 will have some new icons. The old present Windows is probably going away slowly after the new overview. Probably. I mean, technically speaking, the new overview is not meant to replace present Windows, but practically speaking, I sure hope it does. Like, come on, do we really want to have like 3 different effects? Like the present Windows, the desktop read, and overview? That doesn't make any sense at all. Just woke up. Okay, so ask something. Come on. Not enough comments. In the last stream, there was a question about voir. I actually answered to it, but I think it got lost. There's a KDE. You can actually run KDE in voir. You have to use this XR desktop thing. I don't know how it works because I never managed to try it. My brother does have a VR handset, but never quite managed to. But yeah, technically speaking, you can run KDE Plasma in voir. Have someone think about making an option that when you open an app that's pinned in the taskbar, it opens the app in that position and not in a different one? I guess we don't guarantee. I mean, technically speaking, that should work. If you open an application, it shouldn't change place. Is that what you mean? That you click an application and its icon shouldn't go to the right? That should be guaranteed, I think. Epiphany versus Conqueror. Conqueror is dead. That. If you want to make a comparison, at least try Falcon, not Conqueror. And even then, Falcon is not really actively developed. The KDE doesn't have quite a live browser. I think just use Firefox or whatever. I don't think it would be two types of overview. I think it would be just one with different zoom. Like if you go see the Gnome one, you can, if you press one time the meta key, you get the desktop, and then if you press two times, you get all of the desktops. So it would be something similar, I guess. I haven't quite followed the JTK for libadwaita thing by choice, because honestly, I was like, I'm a KDE developer. Why should I? It seems exhausting to follow all of the opinions and stuff. I didn't quite want to. I wouldn't be so easy to judge GNOME developers. They do have a clear idea of what their desktop should be like, and that's what GNOME is meant to be. Like, GNOME is not meant to be super customizable and everything. And if GNOME wants like a theme that's only that theme and it's not customizable, and I'm not even sure that's their take on it, but still, nonetheless, if that was the case, it could still make sense given what GNOME is. Personally, I prefer giving the option of customizing stuff. That's personally my take, and I prefer KDE Plasma for that, but you know, each project has its own philosophy. Why do I have an extra Firefox in the task manager? That's actually a good question. That's probably a bug. Let's just get rid of this Firefox. You see that must be some kind of bug with Firefox. Let's get rid of it. Why floating panels was hard to make? You know what, let's make a video out of this. Let's try making a video out of why making floating panels was a mess. Let's give this a shot. So I won't mess this up, right? Let me think what I'm going to say. Hello everyone, if you follow my channel, you know that I'm working on the feature of floating panels in KDE Plasma. And I've worked on this for like months at this point. It took me way more than I expected. I remember asking for donations about this very thing months and months ago, but now finally it's almost done, and with a bit of luck it will be in the next release of Plasma 5, as I said. However, it was hard. It was super hard, and I want to explain why doing that feature was that hard. So let's get into it. So how would you think of approaching this is, okay, you have like the monitor, this is the border of the monitor, and usually you have the panel, but we want to make this floating. Okay, so we could just put a margin to the left and to the bottom of the panel, and it would become like this, and here you get the icons. And that's actually not enough at all. It would be super simple to do this, but it's not like that. First of all, if you look closely to the panel, you can see that the borders are not rounded, which makes sense. If you like shorten the panel, they become rounded, but not on the bottom. If a panel is floating, it should be rounded. So what you have to say is, okay, if it's attached to the border, then it shouldn't be rounded. If it's floating, it should be rounded. And of course, I do animate between the two. If you click on the please float button, or if you maximize a window, the panel stops floating, and there's an animation between not floating and floating. So you do actually have to animate between the two like this. What's the issue? If you animate between these two, you also have to animate the corners. Otherwise, it would look weird that it goes from being not rounded to immediately rounded. How can you animate between rounded corners and not rounded corners? You can't. You just can't. I've looked everywhere, and it's not possible to animate between the two, which is an issue. There's also another issue. Now, what you see as the panel looks like just a panel, and you think, okay, that's the panel, that's easy. However, it's actually made from two different components, a panel and the effects applied behind the panel. As an example, blur. So how this works is that you have the panel, and then underneath the panel, in the same exact position, you have a mask for the blur, and so that behind the panel, you actually blur all the stuff. And you don't just have that, you also have the contrast effect, which I've talked about in the past, which is changing the colors of the background to make sure that it's prettier. So if I just move the panel, and that's it, what's going to happen is that the mask for the blur is going to remain in the same place. So the panel moves, but the blur doesn't, and that could look horribly wrong. And that means that when the panel is floating, I just have to move the mask accordingly. Issue, the position of the mask and the position of the panel are actually managed by two different files, and so I have to communicate between those files. But okay, I can do that. That's not hard. However, I also have to animate both at the same time. I cannot like animate the panel that moves and then moving the mask at the same time. That would look weird, like the panel moves and then the blur does. Weird. I have to animate them at the same time. And that's already slightly more difficult, but it's not just that. So when the panel is rounded, the blur effect also needs to be rounded, otherwise we have the corners back. So what we need to do is, when the panel is attached to the border, we have a blur effect that's like no square corners. When it's floating, it has to have rounded corners. And you have to animate the mask between rounded corners and square corners when you switch between the two. And as I said, that's actually impossible. That you can't do that. And that means that it's a mess. So how did I actually approach this seemingly unfixable issue? So what I did is I actually go to Plasma and say, you know what, can you actually draw two panels for me? So we've got the floating panel and you also have the normal panel. Okay, so you've got both of them. At this point, when you switch between the two, you don't actually move the panel in one and the other position because that's impossible. You have to animate a lot of things that you cannot animate, but you just change the opacity of the two. And then you also animate the position of the floating one to make it appear as if you're actually morphing the panel when you're not. You're just switching between two panels that are already there. Still, you do have to sync the position of the mask underneath the floating panel and the mask of the panel that's stuck to the border. And also, you need to change the masks of the two panels because you have two panels, you're going to have two masks. One that's not rounded and one that is rounded. So you also need to switch between the masks. However, whereas with panels, I can actually do like opacity changes of the two panels to make it seems like you're switching from one to another. The mask is just that one. You cannot give opacity to the mask. Blur is going to be blur regardless of where it is. So you just need to switch from one to another without any animation. And that would sound easy if it was. However, it isn't. And to be completely honest with you, I still haven't understood why when you change the mask, it doesn't actually change. So what's happening right now is that you switch to a floating panel and you still preserve the same mask of the panel that's not floating. And that means that you get the corners back. So currently, I'm trying to implement floating panels. I'm almost there, but I still get corners back, which is annoying. Now, before I wrap up and explain how I actually the last issues that I'm trying to solve, let me just say that if I'm able to do this because it's my free time, it's only thanks to the people who actually donate to my Patreon and PayPal and everything. So I really have to say thank you for all of them because otherwise, without them, I wouldn't be able to have this much time to dedicate to KDE. So if you have some mind to spare, even a couple of bucks every month, that would help. But anyway, let me get back to my sweet panels and let me actually get in slightly more detail. So let's open up the the files that I'm working on. So I was almost done, until I sent the merge request and I was please asked to add an option to switch between a panel that's floating and a panel that's not floating. And I thought, okay, that's not too hard. I just have to add an option to actually check if a panel is floating or not. So what I do is I've got the panel code, and this is like the panel view code. And in here, I just check if the panel configuration file has it's floating or it's not floating in it. And if it's floating, it sets a variable that can then be read by here, which is just the appearance of the panel. And the appearance of the panel actually changes the margin only if it's floating. And by changing the margin, it has an animation on a variable that is then read by the panel code, which then takes that variable and updates it during the update mask. The update mask function. What is the update mask function? It's the function that actually draws the mask and then does the blur and the contrast effect. And you do have it here. What it does, it reads the property panel mask from the root object of this file, and then it just draws it for the blur and the background contrast effect. What I added here is also reading the properties of the margin and moving this mask depending on the margin. And as the variable changes in the file with appearance, it also changes here to actually move the mask that's underneath the panel. That kind of works, kind of. The issue is, of course, this panel mask variable, because the panel mask should be the rounded mask when it's floating and the non-rounded mask when it's not floating, which means that in here the panel mask should switch between non-floating and floating masks depending on whether we are floating. However, it is already switching between something, and that something is the opaque or the translucent items, because we also have adaptive transparency. And what that means is that I have to switch between a translucent floating mask if it's translucent and floating, a opaque floating mask if it's opaque and floating, a opaque non-floating mask, and a translucent non-floating, depending on the floatiness value and the adaptive transparency value. It's a mess. It's a mess, right? So what I did is say, okay, if your panel is floating, it has to be transparent. Like, sorry, that's how it is. So if you do that, it's slightly easier because now we've just got three: opaque non-floating, transparent non-floating, and transparent floating. And the floating one is the messy one, so we just have that one of that. So what we would do here is add a new check and say that if it's floating, then always return a translucent floating mask. Does this work? Kind of. So to summarize, I'm almost done. This is the issues that I've had. This is why it's been so hard to make this. And if you're wondering, why do we even have that complexity under the hood? Complex things are complex, and Plasma is a desktop, and a desktop is not easy. As an example, blur and contrast effect underneath the panel being managed by a different file. That's because of a variety of reasons. First of all, blur and contrast effect are actually completely independent on when they're used. You can use blur and the contrast effect, the very same ones, pretty much everywhere, and third party might want to use it too. Some Plasma themes don't use it, some Plasma themes do, so you have to be super customizable in that regard. And also at the very beginning of KDE Plasma, everything was in the C++ file, then QML came and it was later, so everything had to be ported to QML, and it's not so easy to make sure that over time all of the code base still makes sense, complete sense. So you do have to deal with a bit of weirdness in the code sometimes. And for the floating panels, that's what killing me right now. Sorry. Done. Sorry. I'm back to you guys. So blah, blah, blah. What was I saying? Why floating panels was so hard to make? I've got the video for tomorrow already. Yeah. For example, I have Firefox pinned in the taskbar. Yes, I've seen this one. I've just removed Firefox. I think it's a bug of Firefox. I don't even know why. I almost started developing for KDE. Almost. Do it. But you only enjoy Java. Okay. Yeah, I guess. Java. If you like Java. I really dislike Java too. Okay, there's no Java stuff, but I mean, if you understand Java, you're going to understand QML for sure, and also C++. All of the word is like has some C++ in it, so I think that you should accept the fact that you'll have to deal with some C++ in some point of time. So I would suggest to put Java aside if you want to develop for KDE, see a bit of C++ and also QML because that's super easy. I'm not going to use Flutter. I don't like the idea of Flutter, to be honest. Do you like the skeuomorphism design? I don't know. I mean, yes, but it's not my favorite one. So, oh, why didn't see this comment? This was perfect. The code just flows away from me. I should have used this. Yeah, and I mean, it's a design. I prefer other designs, but it looks good if it's done correctly. All designs look good if done correctly. Yeah, you've been backstaged. What are your thoughts on Wayland with Plasma? Because Ubuntu 20... for me, even if I'm a developer, I tried KDE Plasma with Wayland and it just works perfectly. So thumbs up for me, do it. Go for Wayland because I don't have any issue with it and I think it has improved a lot. So yeah. Just add padding until it gets out of the screen. Yeah, totally. It's possible to stream to Telegram. I've seen that. I've considered if I should do that. I think not, simply because my like, how do you say this? The community, my community on Telegram is rather small, so I don't think it would make sense for me to live stream to Telegram if I only have like 2 people watching me. Probably not even that. So I don't know. Why doesn't KDE have settings basic and advanced? There's actually a web page talking about this, which is called KDE Lessons Learned. Basic advanced modes, and you just read these 2 paragraphs. You just search for KDE Lessons Learned. How does Lattidoc handle the animation? Okay, Lattidoc is magic. Lattidoc is completely dark magic. Like, it's not, but I've talked to like the developer on how it does some things, and the amount of effort that Lattidocs put in actually making sure that everything works is too high for me. Like, it even goes CSD to draw its own shadows, and I'm not able to do that. That means that the shadow actually gets removed. So yeah. From a UI UX perspective, which KDE based distro is your pick? From a UI UX perspective, I think that distro don't matter at all. Because if they have KDE Plasma on it, they're going to be basically the same UI UX wise. So as the Linux experiment did a video about this, I think, As they put it, we shouldn't be talking about distros, but rather about desktops. So the question should be regarding UI, UX, which desktop do you think is the best one? Of course, there's no clear answer to that. Just disable animations. That's going to look weird. Yeah, I mean, if it comes to it, I guess I can just disable animations, but oh, a mess. Yeah, to be honest, I record at this point all of my videos like that. I just talk really fast as I can. If I mispronounce something, I just go forward. Then sometimes I stop. I do perfect silence, and I think what I'm going to say, and then the silence get automatically cut out. So no, thank you for the video idea. That was totally a good idea. What is your gender? It's male. Gmail. I personally would use Garuda or Endeavor. Yes, but I mean, you can make any distro look like any other distro if it's just about the theme. You just have to install the theme from those distro and you can use it wherever. So, you know. I wonder what are the historic reasons for having the two components separate and separatedly handled. Look, it's because I've done videos about this in the past. We don't have like the panel. We have the panel view and the panel containment, because technically you abstract on what's going to the panel. So if you have just the panel containment, if you just have the panel containment, it's going to be empty. It's going to be an empty panel. And the idea is that the panel is a general concept regardless of what's in it. And then inside of the panel containment, which is the general idea, you put the panel view, which is actually what manages the content of the panel. So you have the panel view, the panel containment. It's, I think, maybe more complex than it has to be, but that's how the code is structured, and that's how I have to deal with. Something like Android settings, the most used settings first. Maybe, I don't know, but we are reorganizing settings, and I don't think that we have like expert tier settings in system settings, really, to speak. So we can't hear you. I hope you can. Can you hear me? Is everyone here hearing me? I'm not looking. No, I don't have two monitors. Simply put, when I think myself, like all of my thoughts, I look up by instinct. It's a way to like disconnect from reality. Like I have distractions here, so when I have to think, I just look up and think. That's how we do it. Editing KDE code in JEdit. Yeah, you saw me when you like I opened the code and JEdit pop up. I was like, what? But I mean, that's what popped up, so it's fine. I mean, I'm going to use Kate for actual development, don't worry. Sorry that I'm behind with questions, but I'm getting to the last ones. So feel free to make more and I'll get to them. I use Arc, by the way. Nicolo, you are known as Father V. What are your thoughts about that? So apparently I'm Father V, and Baby Vogue decided that I'm called Father V. My best guess is that V stands for Venerandi, which is my surname. That's my best guess. It makes sense. I guess that fathers should like have the surname. So, okay. If you want to call me Father V, it's fine. I know it's me. I know it's me. Inside of my heart, I know it's me. I would have just moved the mask first and then morphed the icons and widgets. But if you move the mask first, then you have blur in the wrong place, and also it looks like half of the panel already moves because half of the background of the panel is drawn by the contrast effect. So it looks like half of the panel moves up and then the other one. Not quite what you want to see. It's more sophisticated. I mean, yeah, but I don't know C++ well, and I'm still able to contribute. So even if you don't know C++ very well, don't worry. But even if you don't want to touch C++ at all because of whatever reason, you can still contribute through QML. So don't worry about that. What is a good programming language for someone to learn that has a PHP background? I would say Python. Go with Python. In your floating panel, sorry. In your floating panels making Opera 3, your window decoration seemed to be merged with the Dolphin toolbar. How was that done? No, I totally did not implement this. Maybe it looks... No, I don't think I did this. But Lattidoc does this because Lattidoc is dark magic and does everything. But I haven't implemented this. Can KDE Plasma get round corners in all windows and some blur at default? No. Why? Okay, so round corners in all windows. It is a long-standing discussion between the visual design group and the KDE developers. Last time I asked for it, I sent an email and said, KDE developers, can we please have rounded corners in the bottom? And they've replied that some reasons that I didn't agree with, and then they said that it would decrease performance significantly. So I thought, okay, fine. I mean, if it's going to make Plasma slower, then I guess don't do this. But is it suitable to use Plasma plus NVIDIA plus Wayland? I think that you should try it in a live environment to figure out, because it changes so much between computers that I'm not really able to safely tell you, yes, it works, nor no, it doesn't. You should try it out. Can you give a quick high-level overview of Plasma? Regarding the panel, I've done a video about that. Of Plasma in general, it's a bit hard because I don't know all of Plasma very well. And but I mean, in general, you have containments and views. And you have like the panel, containments, and view. And then you have the desktop, which is another containment, and then the wallpaper view. But what else the Plasma theme. I could talk about the Plasma theme. I've actually kind of done an article about this, but probably that too much time ago. Let me come back to the question later on, sorry. Yeah, I just wasn't speaking that moment. Yeah, that makes sense. I've done some silence. Looking up to think is actually quite common. I totally agree. I don't know why people are weirded out by this. Like people keep telling me, what are you looking at? Nothing. I'm just thinking. I thought it was obvious. like my parents, my friends. It's V probably because your channel named Nicola V. Yeah, V is my surname. Venerandi. V is short for Venerandi, which is my surname. As I said, V is probably from my surname. Would you mind to check about snap layouts? I know about snap layouts. No reason to check them out. This sorry, this goes completely beyond my skills, my area of competence really, because I mostly work with Plasma and the panel. These kind of things are KWin. So you need to ask KWin developers that, so not me. Why haven't you speak Italian during the noob video? Because I feel like the subs wouldn't have made as cool as a video. Like it would have been boring to just have subs to understand the video. I thought that wasn't acceptable. Because people would have get bored and stopped watching, and that would have made the whole thing a bit pointless. Yeah, it looks sweet, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be against it if somebody implemented it at all. I'm just not the right question to do this. Can you show us the animation you have so far? In theory, I think I don't have it compiled right now. Yeah, I think it's not compiled right now. My voice is slowly dying, so let's switch to git branch. We've got a git checkout work Nicolov's floating panel. Then we need git checkout work Nicolov floating panel, and then Plasma frameworks git checkout work Nicolov floating panels. Git checkout work Nicolov. Hello, git checkout work Nicolov floating panels. What? Floating panels, sorry, yeah. And then we have to build this. First, Plasma framework, make install. Give it a couple of minutes. Could you somehow speed up fixing K-Touch Wayland bug? Nope. I'm not a K-Touch developer, and I'm not a Wayland developer either. Completely out of my skills. I believe there shouldn't be around the corners on bottom, because app UI. No. We are talking just a few pixels, like 3 pixels rounded. That's not going to cut out any UI. So don't worry about that. Why does Plasma have a specific settings for customizing JTK apps while Gnome doesn't have it for Qt theme? Ask the Gnome developers and let me know what they answer. I think that they are not really interested in that compared to us, because we do make a conscious effort to make sure that we are able to provide this. Probably their philosophy is different, so maybe they just don't want to. But you gotta ask them. I am going to create a DE called FVDE, sponsored by the VCharge, with Father V as the Pope, please go for it. Go for it. Send me the link when you're done. Or did my terminal go? Did I close the terminal? I had a terminal here. Where the hell did my terminal go? What? Please tell me if I'm... I was compiling stuff here, right? Did it just disappear? What? Did I close it? Please tell me. Did I close the... Okay, that was weird. What was I answering? Worst criticism about KDE Plasma. Probably... No, it's the same activity. Yeah, that was weird. Probably the worst criticism is that it looks like shit. And that's always super annoying to see. Especially after all of the effort that we put into making it look pretty. I think it looks pretty now. So I still hear this, and every time I hear it, I'm sad. Let's try again, hoping that this time it doesn't disappear. That was weird. Did it crash or something? Oh, it's not going well. It's going to take a lot to fix this. Yeah, sorry, no animation for ya. I couldn't understand some Italian, since some words are pretty similar to Portuguese. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you by any chance thinking on developing for Plasma Mobile? I would love to. However, my free time is what my free time is. I don't think I have enough time to actually work on Plasma Desktop and Plasma Mobile at the same time. And I still have a bunch of things for Plasma Desktop that I need to finish. So, nope. Yeah, probably, I mean, Gnome's philosophy is completely different compared to KDE's, so if they don't want, they don't want. They are not like obliged to do this. You're also not like, you don't have to use Gnome either, so... My country is under sanctions, and it seems due to that sorry. I can't download widgets and themes, so yes, there is an alternative. You can just download the file manually. You do have to find the files though. But I mean, you should be able to see... the fuck is going on? Sorry. Nope. You should be able to connect to store.kde.org. And then if you go to Plasma applet somewhere, Plasmoids, I guess. Plasma. Oh, come on. Applets. Let's take this one as an example, which is, funnily enough, a very relevant example for you in this case. Under Files, you can download the Plasmoid, and then you can install it manually with commands that you can find just by Googling, like KDE manually installing Plasmoid. I would love to run Plasma Mobile on my Android without flashing it. That's not going to happen. Android is Android, and you can't quite, change it to use Plasma Mobile without flashing it. Do you have the color picker widget? You can find it in the widgets here, color picker. It's here. So it still exists. I don't think Plasma's bloated. Oh, I agree. I don't think Plasma's bloated. There's surely some improvement to be done in the simple by default thing, because sometimes we do show too many options in some places, but I don't think that is bloated. What's the one thing you like to brag about KDE? Well, Windows is actually removing the ability to do this, and Gnome doesn't have it. Macintosh doesn't either. So very soon will be like the only major desktop to allow for moving the panel. As easy as that. Now, of course, while I was doing that, it died. Everything died. Thank you. That's what happens when you have like super how do you say this? How do you say this? Like the super latest stuff installed. You don't have it. That's indeed weird. You probably can try to download it somewhere. Bleeding edge. Thank you. The word had just slipped my mind. Yeah, but I wouldn't call XFCE like a major desktop right now. I think we have like Gnome, KDE, maybe Elementary, and of course Macintosh and Windows and like Chrome OS. Yeah. I was just flexing. No, it can't be different packages. Let me just check what where the color picker is. It should be in probably Plasma Desktop. Maybe it's a third party. I don't think so though. Come on. Maybe it's a third party. I thought it was by default, but I don't find it. What's the name of the probably like color picker? It's in KDE Plasma Dons. You probably don't have I can't speak English. I cannot speak English after an hour. You probably don't have the color picker, the KDE Plasma Dons package. You're on Arc, right? You said. Yes. You don't have the KDE Plasma Don package. Any anime suggestions? Have you seen Monogatari? If you have not seen Monogatari, watch Monogatari. That is my only suggestion, and it's the best one. Ever thought about creating a community Discord server? No, I hadn't. That's not a very bad idea. However, I do prefer a Telegram channel, and I have that already. I slightly prefer Telegram, and I use it more often. So for now, I would like to stick to Telegram. What's your day job? No, I just study. I'm a student. I study mathematics, and that is why donating to me is so important, because I don't have a job at all. I just study and live with my parents. That's how it works. So, I do have a Telegram. To join my Telegram, you go to You search, you go to the link in any of my videos that brings you to Nikolov blog. And then from Nikolov blog, you should be able to go to the group, which is this one. So the Gero group, I'll just drop the link nowhere. Here, I guess. Yeah, totally feel you. Very, very relatable. Thank you. When is KDE 6? Probably less than a couple of years from now. Probably. I know that doesn't mean like much for you, but it's something. There's no like exact time for KDE 6 as far as I'm aware. So when it's ready, and that should be within a couple of years. Does KDE have any plans on adding a welcome tour? Not right now, especially given that KDE doesn't quite need explaining. It's so similar to a very popular commercial operating system that I don't think there's any explaining to do. So sorry, I'm not sure what you mean here. What are you referring for? I can promise you that KDE 6 is going to be better than the last season of Game of Thrones. I promise that. How does Plasma generate video thumbnails? Good one. I think you need to ask this in the development chat because I haven't got a clue. I never actually worked with thumbnail generation. I'm not sure what component is that. It's probably some framework, but I really don't remember what that one is. Sorry. The color picker package. If I remember correctly, Arc has a KDE Plasma add-ons package or something. This one. It should be in this package, amongst other stuff. Technically speaking, you could try to install only the color picker by installing its package. It's harder though. Send me an email if you want extra instructions. Any plans to changing the entire Discover Store appearance from scratch? No. Hell no. What distro would you say gives the best KDE experience out of the box? Probably maybe Kubuntu, maybe KDE Neon, maybe Fedora KDE. They're all very good. It's very hard for me to say, no, this is worse because it does X. They all provide very good experience. Of course, it depends on what you're looking for. Thank you, Gustav. What is the most controversial idea among Plasma developers? The most controversial. There are a lot of controversies. I don't know which one is most popular. There's at least, okay, so there's one controversy about making things, should we make things opaque or transparent? That has raised some discussions before. Also, a lot of things about the nature of convergent applications, I guess. Also, should Windows be rounded, have rounded corners? There's probably some more that I'm forgetting right now, but these kind of things surely do. Lattidoc now isn't that much more active. Ever thought of getting Psyphidotos? I'm going to learn this name. Psyphidotos. On board, I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, so Lattidoc is active. They have done a release not that much time ago. They maybe less than before, but I do see still development. And about getting Psyphidotos on board, what do you mean on board? I mean, he's part of KDE. He talks like in the KDE chats, so I'm not sure what you mean. Inigo Quilets. I was actually watching one of these videos just yesterday. That was like super. Yeah. The video tutorials are impressive. I've seen this one. Super well done. I'm honestly impressed by the quality of the videos. The best way to replicate the setup probably is the Plasma config saver. I have done an entire video about it, so check out YouTube Nicolo the Plasma config saver. There's currently no way to rearrange system tray icons, and there's nobody working on that, sadly. On board with the default KDE dock? No, sadly not. Lattidoc is for like advanced users, not quite for the default experience, and there's no plan to use it as the default dock. About making Plasma more popular in distro, regarding distros specifically, that's a lot more with politics. As an example, I don't know. No, sorry, I'm not sure how to approach this question. Yeah, it's not really about KDE Plasma itself, I think. It's not about the product itself. It's more about the people who work on it, the relationships between them. So the product is fine. It could be defaulted on any distro as far as we could, it's really good. But Gnome being the default, I think, is not related to Gnome being any better than KDE Plasma inherently. When will Dolphin support root operations? Who knows at this point? I mean, they had implemented it recently, then it got reverted. I didn't even know it was reverted. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I haven't followed the question after the issue after the last revert. Probably it will be sooner or later implemented if somebody works on it, but I don't know. Have you thought a bit doing more scripted videos? I did think about it. I tried. Last week, if you go see my channel, I have not published any video, like at all. The reason is that I was trying to do more scripted videos and I messed up. I wasn't able to. So I would like to do more scripted videos, but at the same time, I have to realize that my time is very. Sorry, I don't have that much time actually. So I have to. Wrong video, sorry. Hello, this one. So I have to accept the fact that I don't have that much time to actually go there, script a video, learn it by heart and stuff like that. What's the name of the video again? Panel Y heart. Boom. I was thinking of like trying to hire someone to. My time is very limited, yeah. I was like thinking to hire somebody to help me out, but I don't have that much money at all. So I don't know. KDE is my default IDE. Same. To report bugs, check out bugs.kde.org. And also, if you go to YouTube and you search for Nicolo V, like this, Nicolo V how to bug, then you get a whole new, no, not this one, how to report bug. Wrong video. Okay, so maybe this one. Somewhere I do have a video about reporting bugs though. So this is the web page though. The panel become active. No, the panel is going to be removed from the overview effect when it's activated. That's actually a bug, so yeah. The panel will be gone from the overview. What do you think about Steam KDE Plasma as base from the Steam Deck? I'm super happy about that. It was amazing news for us, like amazing. So I don't know what else to say except, yay, we've done it. Nicola, do you like big Firefox tabs? They're fine. I'm fine, honestly. I don't have complaints. They look pretty, honest. I like them. Yeah, I do like them. I think I'm in the stream here. It's been more than an hour, and I'm tired. So thank everybody for following along, and I'm going to publish this video very soon. So you know what's up, and see you next time. Yeah, my desktop is a bit glitchy, but don't worry about that. Thanks, everybody.